from New York to show that might put you in the headlock if you misbehave. It's first things first today.
Honestly, terrible.
No
Not
comparison.
great. Your reaction, Nick?
Well, Andy, listen, to be fair, the best half of football he's played in 3 years is the most recent half of football that he played, and evidently he played it with the broken shoulder. So fair credit where it's due.
Yep.
But my immediate reaction was twofold. One is this makes their decision to value P.J. Walker and a potential fifth-round pick more than Josh Dobbs an all-time gaffe. They have had Josh Dobbs in that building multiple times, and I understand people might be like, well, nobody could have seen this coming. You know who should have? A team that he's played for multiple times. A team that knew coming into the year, while they didn't know if Deshaun was going to be hurt, they had no reason to believe with certainty he was going to be excellent. The storyline coming out of training camp was he went a week at a time without completing multiple passes in practice in training camp. So they needed a deeper quarterback room, and they got rid of Josh Dobbs, who if they had right now, I think they'd be fine, who this year has been better than Deshaun. My other reaction, Brew, was this is the opposite of the gift that keeps on giving is this contract. Because so it was 5 years, $230 million. That's $46 million per year. But the first year they did funny money with the math because they knew he was going to be suspended and they didn't want him to cost him any money, which was questionably ethically, but whatever it was true. So it turned into 4 years, $220 million. All right, now that's $55 million per year. But then this year, they borrowed from Peter to pay Paul, restructured it, and this was the year that the cap hit was super low. Now, because they went all in on this year, now each of the next 3 years, Deshaun Watson against the cap is $64 million. Yeah. And because it's fully guaranteed, there's no other ways to deal with it. You just got to take it. So this was their moment. They wagered correctly. They had a great defense, and that they thought they could win. And while I still think this is a good team and a dangerous team in the micro, it's a disaster, and it didn't have to be if they hadn't gotten rid of Josh Dobbs.
Well, here's the only thing I'll say about the Dobbs thing. They weren't going to, let's say Watson was just playing poorly. They weren't going to replace him with Josh Dobbs. I think they would, because of what you said with the contract, they're stuck with Deshaun Watson.
Sure.
So even if he hasn't played well.
Well, it would have been a good insurance policy.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But I'm just saying, it's not like, week 7, Deshaun's not getting it done, let's put in Josh. So I don't think that would have happened. My first reaction, honestly, was this. Wow. A guy that had been maligned nationally as soft and not playing through the rotator cuff injury just the last few weeks was actually toughing it out and playing through, a broken shoulder and a high ankle sprain in that game. And as you said, second half played really good football, 14 of 14, 134 yards and a touchdown in a huge win. And I get it, Deshaun Watson is nobody's sympathetic figure. But I'm just saying, this was a guy everybody was saying doesn't want to play. He's soft, he's not tough, and yet he was out there against one of the toughest teams in the league fighting through an injury. I also thought, Nick, and you don't want it to happen this way if you're the Bills or the Bengals, but this does presumably help them in their playoff chances in that Cincinnati is not going to be as good without, Cleveland's not going to be as good without Deshaun Watson. So it does, we talked about the Bills being dead yesterday. It gives them a little more better chance of getting into the playoffs, and same with the Bengals.
Looking far ahead, so we'll skip past this year, go to next year. Do you think Deshaun Watson has played enough football in the past 3 years to get back to
No,
Houston?
I honestly think this second half against Baltimore is probably going to give Browns fans a little bit of false hope of what he's going to be. Mm-hmm. I mean, Deshaun Watson, 2 years ago, sat out the whole season. Last year was suspended for 11 games and then didn't play well in the final 6, played a little better at the very end. And then this year, for the lion's share of the season, was terrible. And by the way, the worst half of football he might have played all year might have been the first half against Baltimore. Mm-hmm. And then again at halftime, after he was 14 of 14, there's no denying it. He was excellent in the second half of that game. Now they still probably lose it if Lamar doesn't throw the pick six and the defense once again helped him out. But I think now you're going to have a player who, again, hasn't played statistically well since, 2020, hasn't played winning football as far as been a part of a winning program since 2019, and we're going to be in 2024. The best player on the Browns offense is coming off massive reconstructive knee surgery in Nick Chubb. Amari Cooper's a year older, and because he's going to be each of the next 3 years the highest paid player in league history. Each of the next 3 years, Deshaun Watson's cap hit. That's what it'll be, and there's no way around it because it's fully guaranteed. I think they're going to be in a very, very rough spot long term. I do think that.
So 6-3 Browns will lean on Myles Garrett in that defense, which has been spectacular this year. Here's how they've been playing. They've given up the fewest yards, total yards, passing yards. They have the best third down percentage, stopping it, and they hold the opponent's quarterback to 55% passing. Also have 2 defensive touchdowns in the last 4 games. So, Brew, do you expect, here's the schedule, Myles Garrett in this Browns defense to carry Cleveland to the playoffs?
Well, you have the schedule up there. That helps. I don't think an incredibly tough schedule at all. Now, playing in that division obviously is tough. But, I mean, look, the only game I would definitively say they're likely to lose, and that's not even definitive, it's just Cincinnati.
But they own Cincinnati.
They've beaten Cincinnati with Joe Burrow a lot. And so all of those games are winnable because if